3 tools to make money. Today we are going to look at the infamous property deal analyzer. So if you're interested in property, tune in now because we're going to go through what one of my deal analyzers actually looks like screen by screen. Without further ado, let's go with the screens. So here we are, ladies and gents, looking at Carl's property deal analyzer. This is for a property in a place called Gwynedd in Wales. I've removed the individuals' names and emails that this was actually sent to, but this is a genuine deal analysis that I have sent with some terms offered to help people sort of get a real feel for how we want to do business. So obviously the sign up here, confidential once completed, really important because it is commercially sensitive, some of the stuff in here, but I've removed anything overtly sensitive. So the status, the project has been accepted, the buyer and the sellers have all agreed, and we're just waiting to move forward. So the author of this is myself. It is restricted. I'm not going to send this to anybody because this is for me to potentially merge with an investor, if you like, based on the terms that I've offered. Do they have permission to share it with other people? No, they do not. And this is not heads of terms, so I don't want you to be confused here. Heads of terms is a formal legal document. This is just me laying out my initial expectations. So, you know, basically, everybody should be doing this in property, ladies and gents. If you're in property, this is some of the most basic stuff that you should be doing. Due diligence checks on the other party. That includes whether they are a financial investor or whether they are bringing their time and their skill to the deal. So checking their ID, checking their credit score, checking if they've got businesses, the business credit score, really important. Agreeing that you're going to have heads of terms. That's, again, to protect both of you. Proposal, what do you want to do? Well, I want to form a special purpose vehicle company with a 50-50 PSC, or that's persons with significant control, director structure. So investor A plus Carl Mannion equals 50-50 shareholders. This is quite common. CM, that's me, to provide the time, skill and processes to establish the property for SA, serviced accommodation purposes. So this is going to be a serviced accommodation property. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, this is a real deal analysis on a real deal. DL, the private individual, to provide finance for the property purchase and subsequent refurbishment works, estimated within the proposal at tranche stages. What this means is, I don't expect you to give me all of the money that I'm asking for on day one. It's going to be, let's complete the purchase, so transfer all the money for that. And then there's going to be building works, and we'll expect that to be at sort of 2 or 3 stages, or what we call tranches. And that means the money will be released in stages rather than all at once. Just again helps to build trust and, you know, add that idea of professionalism within construction, which is quite normal. DL to hold first charge on the property. What that means in clear English is the investor would hold the first right to the property. If anything were to go wrong, you know, if I were to run off with 20,000 quid of his tranche of investment, he would own the legal charge on that property, which means he could sell it, I couldn't. So that's quite an important sort of safety net for an individual if you want to get an investment from them. And that would be completely discharged once that the refinance was completed, and it would be then held by a bank. If finance does not return full investment, then DL, the investor, to receive the SA fees, the service accommodation fees, at 75% to 25% ratio until repaid in full. What that means is, if for whatever reason the property was downvalued and they didn't get all of their money out, what we call a unicorn deal, then they would get the lion's share of any serviced accommodation monies back out until they were fully repaid, made whole again, and then it would revert in point 8 to a 50-50 net share of all of the serviced accommodation funds. The store downstairs, so this is a mixed-use development, there's a commercial space downstairs, that will be rented as peppercorn to a separate limited company with a 50-50 profit share owned by CM, myself, and the private individual. So we got a little plan for that, what we're going to turn that store into. And the mortgage refinance is an exit strategy to release finance with both directors, PSC, person significant control, as signatories and personal guarantors, which is an absolute normal thing now for when you're getting finance for properties under a limited company. The strategy is a serviced accommodation strategy for the asset. So we're not looking at buy to let, we're not looking at HMO. This is very much a holiday let strategy and buy to hold. So this isn't something that we're going to do up, fix and then flip and sell to somebody else. This is very much a hold, which is, many of you will know, is actually my predominant strategy. I do not sell property, I only hold them. Either party wishing to sell the asset must offer to the other party at cost. That's something that's really important, because let's say you have two directors and one of them wants to sell the property, the other one wants to hold it. Well, it's now worth £300,000 when originally it was worth £100,000, let's say. So now the other party who wants to keep it has got to stump up the cash to get that extra sort of £150,000 to buy that person out, when actually, when they started the journey, it was only £50,000 if they wanted to buy them out. So this is something to protect both parties, because it doesn't really give them an incentive to want to sell if your position is to hold. And then the option for either party to utilise the asset for a maximum of 14 days per year at cost. What that means is, because it's serviced accommodation, either of the directors could use this property for 2 weeks in the year, and it would be simply the cost. So that would be the mortgage costs, the utility costs and the cleaning costs. There would be no profit charge for that. So that's just some basic terms, and then I've put some little columns here for agree, disagree, or if there's any counter, what they can put in there, and that's sort of our start of our negotiating. It's very light touch to begin with, but that means that we're starting this as a business transaction. We're not friends, we're not sort of colleagues, this is a business transaction. So I want to make that clear from the outset. So those are the terms that I use. And by the way, just before I go on to the next one, if you want a copy of this deal analyzer, there is a link below in the description. If you click that link and you subscribe, I will happily send you a copy of this deal analyzer, minus all of my terms, of course, but you can set up your own terms and you can put the numbers in as you wish. And hopefully that'll be a useful tool for you moving forward. So without further ado, we're going to go to the next tab, which is purchase. Stop! Before you go any further, if you're enjoying this content, remember to give us a subscribe, a like, a follow or a share. Every single person that clicks on those buttons, it means the world to us, because it helps us reach more people and get people educated in how to get wealth the lazy way. So here we are. So all of the stuff in blue, I don't touch, only the green stuff. So the purchase price of this property was £72,850. It's going to cost stamp duty land tax of £3,642.50, with legal fees of £2,000, professional fees for surveys £2,000. There's going to be no investor legals because this is a cash investor, no interest because it's a cash investor, and no others that we can speak of so far. So the total 100% from an investor is coming to £80,492.50. So that would be the tranche one, or the initial money down. And of course, how I add value to properties is I refurbish them. And the idea is, by refurbishing them, we add more value so that we can refinance them later on down the road. So this takes us to part two, which is the refurbishment costs. So I'm saying, you know, outside here, we've got some stuff that needs to happen. So £2,400 in total. Outside back, 1,200, and so on and so forth. You can read, I am sure. The living room, 4,800, 6,200 for the kitchen, existing bathroom, 6,000, 3,600 for the bedroom, bedroom 2, bedroom 3, bedroom 4, a little bit more needs doing, 4,400. Bedroom 5 is 9,000, because there's going to be a lot of work needed doing in there, including en suites. 9,000 again for the same. And then stairs, £3,000 need to be done doing that up, making that pretty. And 3,000 for the landing, and the shop needs a refurb, which is 9,000. So the total cost there is about £69,480. Total then is down here, £80,492.50 plus £69,480 gives us a grand total of just under £150,000. So from an investment point of view, I was asking this investor for £150,000. That's to seal the deal for full refurb and also the full purchase price. So far, of course, £150,000, and you think, wow, okay, there's 6 bedrooms there, Carl. You know, what type of property is this? Well, this is going to be serviced accommodation. So once that has been successfully achieved and we've refinanced, here is what the refinance figures look like. So we reckon the GDV, or the gross domestic value of this property, would then be £300,000. We spent £72,850 on the purchase price, so the difference is £227,000 of additional value that has been spent. So now we're going to get a mortgage, and typically the most common is a 75% loan to value or a 75% mortgage. The interest only percentage on that is roughly 7%. You can get them cheaper, but I like to over egg the pudding to make sure we're okay in value. We're going to use a 5-year term. The running cost of this building is going to be about £1,200 a month for electricity. There's no gas, so £1,200 a month electricity. Council tax and so on is going to be slightly different there as well, because it's zero rated, because it's now a business. Letting agent fees, £870 a month. That is based on a formula based at 12% of the monthly revenue, which is up here at 7,300. The building insurance about £200 a month, incidentals £150, and accountancy fees £180. So we could probably add a little bit more in there. So if we say the running costs, let's add another 400 in that, just to deal with cleaners and so on and so forth. As you can see, this is real live data. So here we are. Here is the fee. It's going to be roughly £4,300 per month. So here we have the total costs for year one. Assume it's only 11 months occupancy. I build in a margin of error to ensure that if for whatever reason there's a month where we get 0 bookings, then that's okay. We factored that in. So the cash flow here is going to be 32,128, and then I've put those fees up for year 3. As you can see here, I've put them up slightly. It would probably go up a lot more, but over a 5-year period, I'm expecting a cash flow of £186,674.99, which isn't bad over 5 years. 186 grand. So what's 186 grand over 5 years? That's £37,335 over 5 years. Now, a lot of people don't earn £37,335 a year, but this is going to be something that's managed by other people, so you do not have to do too much with this. This is somebody else managing it for you. That's why you're paying your 12% fee. There are some assumptions that I want to draw your attention to. 11.5 months occupancy. I did say 11 there. It's actually 11.5. 5% rent increase from year 3 onwards, and £300 per night at 80% occupancy, and the shop rent is actually excluded. So what that means is we haven't even taken the rent for the downstairs shop yet. This is just the serviced accommodation in a really high SA area where there's lots and lots of demand, but very little in terms of availability for properties. So this is a great opportunity, this deal. And then finally, the refinance. So here we are, the most common, a 75% loan to value. So we're going to estimate the GDV is at £300,000. That's the total new valuation. But you're only going to get 75% of that, which is £225,000. Now, the actual invested was £150,000, if you remember it from here, the purchase price, £150,000, roughly. So what does that mean? There's £75,000 equity remaining in the property that's untouched. That's what you own in the property. And then the money that you get in out of the property, once you've paid for everything, is £75,000 as a cash flowing asset, plus 75 grand in cash to replenish your funds. And that's why this particular deal was such a good deal. So it turns out the investor didn't actually have the appetite for this. It took him several weeks to get back to me, never mind. But I actually financed this deal myself in the end. So sometimes you think it's okay to go and get investors, but that's fine. You can still use the deal analyzer, even if the deal is just for yourself, because it helps to look at the numbers and see what happens. So even if now we decided in the purchase price, actually, do you know what? I'm going to add, for whatever reason I can't explain, another £10,000 to the refurbishment cost here, and another £4,000 to the cost here. That's taken the cost to £165,000. Let's see if the numbers still stack. So, forgetting that one for a moment, let's go to the refinance, and there we go. We still get £58,000 out of the property. So our margin for error, even if things go really horribly wrong, is still £75,000, where we would have all of our money out and we would still have a cash flowing property. I hope that deal analyzer has been worth your time today as a free tool to make money. You must use tools to make money in your deal analysis, because otherwise you're just hitting and hoping in the dark and you don't know if it's going to make any money in real life. So that's the tool. There's a link below. If you subscribe, then I will send it to you as a thank you because you have liked and subscribed my channel. Please like and subscribe my channel. And if you find this content useful, please share it with your friends. That's the important thing. Share it with your friends, share it with your nan, share it with your mum, share it with the dog, you know, but make sure you share it to some of those bot accounts even, you know, let's get those volumes up. Thank you so much for watching for the part 4 of our free tools to make money now. And I look forward to seeing you on the other side.